Hey, welcome everybody. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, all that are coming here. Hey, Dave, got some news for you. Real news. It's April 1st, but don't be playing any tricks because April Fool's Day is cancelled. Because honestly, we can't do anything that beats what's going on in the world today, can we?
There's no way of competing with the orangutan right now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just,
just not going to happen.
in fact, they're gonna change the name of April Fool's Day to April Trump Day. Any day now.
Yeah, yeah. So sorry about that, guys. Have to announce that April Fool's Day is cancelled. I know everybody loves it, but it is what it is. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So
Sorry.
moving on to the real
That's
news.
another thing you can blame Trump on, right?
Yeah.
You can blame the impact, the cancellation of suspension of April Fools on Trump.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Gary. Yeah.
Can't hear
Sorry.
you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's going to hurt your heart. We know, but it is what it is, right? Okay. All right. Carney has basically said he's not going to prorogue Parliament if he wins a majority. All right, because we're what?
This is
2 weeks away from the election, right?
Yeah, prorogation of Parliament is a technique. It's like an underhanded thing almost. When Harper did it to sort of cool down resistance and criticism of some of his policies, young Trudeau went after him, hammer and tongs, saying how bad that was for democracy and everything. But guess who did the exact same thing when he was in power? It was Trudeau. He did the same thing when things got heated up. Now I don't understand this one bit because I read a whole article on why Carney would quite probably prorogue Parliament, and it said, and it didn't make sense to me because he would have, if he got the majority. Then this is if he gets the majority, if he gets the 2 seats in Toronto and actually gets his majority.
Yeah.
It said that he would have to prorogue the Parliament in order to readjust all the committees and everything of this sort and reorganize everything. And it didn't really make sense to me, but I thought, well, this person must know what they're talking about. Well, it turns out they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because Carney has no intention of proroguing Parliament. And why would he? He hit the ground running, and he's doing very well.
He's got no reason to shuffle his cabinet right now. Well, they've been doing the job for about a year. He's made some shuffles, minor shuffles, but in reality, the new MPs that he gets in need to be on the backbench unless they've got specializations.
Well, there's all kinds of things you can say that why you need prorogation or to prorogue the government. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways in which to do it. Most of the time, it's when you're on your back foot. But if he gets 2 more seats, he's on his front foot.
Yeah,
he's already had some score. He's already had some victories in legislation and placating the West and et cetera, et cetera. So why would he just stall his momentum? It didn't really make sense. But I suppose that in some people's, some political pundits' minds, that happens, and that he would have to prorogue government in order to reorganize everything in his government. But you would have thought he would have done that by now. And also, you would have thought that he would have anticipated a majority by about 1 seat as things move on. So this is a man that's prepared. He doesn't go off the wing.
He is unprepared. In any case, there's plenty of room to do stuff. Parliament will, we're start of April now. Parliament's got basically April, May, and a bit of June. It's got about 8 to 10 weeks worth of business to do before it breaks for its summer break. You know, I don't see any reason to probe Parliament.
I don't see any reason to have a summer break. To tell you the truth, the country's in a mess, and we should work right through the summer break, unless they need the time to sort of sort things out behind the scenes. But I think the politicians should stay where they are, and let's get a few things done.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. I'm not going to deny that as an argument. It has a lot of validity in what you say there. But you know,
No,
as well as I do, that the summer break is going to come, and they're going to take their time off.
You know, I got something. I saw something that I think it was on Facebook here. It was. Let me just look it up. I just glanced at it as it was coming on, and it's kind of ironic.
Kind of ironic
that. Oh boy, wait a minute! I got the wrong thing here. Stephen Lewis died. Now I just saw that at the corner of my eye, but I'm not sure if it really is what it was. What I saw, I got to check that now.
You mean the father of?
Yeah, who not the Stephen Lewis, who was the. Geez, I don't know where I saw that.
As in Stephen Lewis, Ave Lewis's father.
Yeah. Did he
March
die?
31st, 26. Yes, he did die yesterday.
He died yesterday. Isn't it like we were just talking about him, and he's of course the father of Avi, and his father, of course, was David Lewis. David Lewis was very important. He was a leader of the NDP in an important part of it in the early 70s there. And Stephen Lewis, I spoke of very highly here because he spoke so well. I've never seen a speaker speak so well and passionately. And he tried so hard to get the West to pay attention to the AIDS crisis and everything else like that. He's one of the most interesting people because Mulroney, who is a conservative, made him, I think, our ambassador to the UN, who was an NDP guy.
Yeah.
So Mulroney spotted the talent that Stephen Lewis had. So I would just like to point out this is kind of a dark day, really, that Stephen Lewis has died just when Avi Lewis is 1, 2.
Yeah, just the day that Avi Lewis was actually selected as NDP leader. Obviously you can't affect when a person dies. Both a victorious and a tragic day for Avi Lewis.
Yeah, so just a nod at the cap because I remember going to Brock and watching. I saw him speak 1 or 2 times, Stephen Lewis, but I could tell you it was one of the most inspiring speakers I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And he used words that are he had a style, and he used some pretty high-end words, but he used them, as I said, in a manner in which you couldn't misunderstand it if you knew. If you knew, he could tell you, he could use a word, and you instantly understood why he used that word and why he was, and you kind of learned a new word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were never left in the woods because of the way in which he spoke. You were never unsure of what he was saying, and yet he spoke in a sophisticated way.
Okay, so Stephen Lewis was a member of, was an MPP for Scarborough West for quite some time, and he was leader of the Ontario NDP from 1970 to 1978, and elected to the Legislative Assembly at the age of 26, right? And he became the leader of the opposition in 1975 and served as Canadian ambassador to the United Nations between 1984 and 1988. There we go.
Yes, I remember his impassioned.
Lewis.
Yeah, I remember his impassioned pleas for help for developing countries with the aid crisis, and how it kind of got sort of forgotten, and the impassioned pleas for I saw a great deal of frustration in him when he spoke. He was a great man. So my hat's off to him, and it's a very sad day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else to say on either about proroguing Parliament or this?
Not really. Here's another situation where the assumption was that he would do it, and I don't know where that assumption came from. And so everybody starts talking about him proroguing government, and he says, "What the hell are you talking about? I have no intention at all of doing anything like that." So you got a lot of these people already complaining. Look at Carney. He's going to prorogue Parliament. Look at what we could have expected. And then he says, and so there's a lot of heat and there's a lot of complaints and all that. And he says, "What are you all talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I even prorogue Parliament? Whose idea is this anyway? Why don't you ask me first?" And that's the trouble with the press nowadays.
Political pundits, yeah.
They invent stuff, you know.
Yeah. I don't know why anybody would do that. There's typically, business of Parliament continues on right through those elections. There's typically no break. I doubt they're in Ottawa right now because they're probably a week off because of Easter. But apart from that, I can't see. They
probably had. Well, they're politicians, so they probably had to have a week off to get ready for Easter, then take Easter off, and then have a week off after Easter to sort of readjust themselves to the post-Easter phenomenon. You know what I mean? So but I would, you know what? If I was Carney, I'd make everybody stay in Ottawa at least for part of the summer, get a few things done.
Well, it doesn't, just because Parliament takes a break doesn't mean to say his office takes a break.
No, and the bureaucracy is still working too. But sometimes you're going to need, if he feels that he needs Parliament in there to put, he's going to have a majority so he can get some stuff done. You know what I mean? He can get some stuff done. So if all of a sudden, we got all the stuff we got to do. Oh, well, okay, time for summer.
Yeah.
Get stuff. Let's get the vote out there.
Get the stuff working. Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on. Currently, at the moment, there are a few countries out there that are helping stranded visitors as a result of this troubles in the Middle East. All right. Saudi Arabia stepping in with visa extensions, waivers, and helpline support for stranded visitors. And Saudi Arabia is a place that doesn't actually normally accept visitors per se, other than those that are coming for Hajj and situations like that. You and I normally can't go visit Saudi Arabia.
That's changed. The Saudi Arabia has expanded its economy to include tourism.
Okay.
So there are a lot of tourist visas right now. So you can imagine anybody that's there on a tourist visa for religious purposes or for business, and most of the Canadians are there for business. They work in the oil fields or they work something like that, something associated with that. A guy I went to school with, he's just finished his 35 years or whatever in Saudi Arabia, made made stacks of cash, but he lived there for almost all his life, so anyway, but there are expatriates all over the place in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. And of course, what do you think they want to do? They want to get the heck out of there. And if they can't get out of there, then what happens is Saudi Arabia has very strict rules about not obliging your getting out of the country when your visa's all done. So they gotta change their whole format and make sure
they complained at me because I was a day over. Yeah, they complained at me because I was a day over. But then I said, look, I'm leaving the country now. And and they saw the logic of that.
Yeah, so they're very, very strict that way, and it could be problematic. So Saudi Arabia has stepped up and said, okay, we're going to extend visas, we're going to help people get out if they want to get out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're in a war zone right now, and things.
But again, that's the same for places like Turkey, Germany, Canada, Netherlands, Qatar, Italy, and many more countries are helping their people who are stranded in travel in that area.
Yeah, they're trying to, like the United States sort of belatedly try to get their people out of the Gulf area after the war started. After the war started, and Americans wanted to get out of there, get out of the war zone. There was no plans for that, so they had to suddenly get some plans and get these people out. This is the same sort of thing. It was unplanned for most people. They didn't know the war was coming, and when it happened, of course, it wasn't declared or anything, and there wasn't a lead up to it. It was just rather sudden. I mean, the lead up was the Armada and everything, but they made the world think that negotiations were happening and things were just fine, and then they attacked in the middle of negotiations. So basically you're going to have people
the relief package is visa extensions and exits without penalty if you happen to be over, which are of great importance.
So anyway, what else we got? We kind of figured that one out.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Okay, thieves are secretly recording. People and homeowner routines, etc. And they're using that information as part before they will break into houses.
This is a different way of scoping the joint out, basically canvassing it. Typically, when thieves were going to hit a bank or somebody's house, they would scope it out. They would they case the joint, basically. Yeah. They would have people check out all kinds of different the house. When you read about the gangsters of the 1930s, they robbed banks and stuff, and the preparation they took in order to rob the bank. That's why they were so successful. The best ones were the ones that prepared the most, the ones that cased the joint out, figured things out. And this is what they're doing now, but they have much more sophisticated means by doing it. So thieves can set up cameras, kind of like wildlife cameras, if you want, and set it up and check your house. Particularly if you have a house, they're not going to worry about my house. They're not going to worry about your house. They're going to case the joint where there is high-end housing, and they're going to keep an eye on you by electronic means. So they're going to see your routines. They're going to see when you leave in the morning, when you come back. Yeah. And over the space of a couple of weeks, they can pretty much figure out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. So they know when to come in, break in, take your gear, get out, and they can even.
And with the new micro cameras that are as small as a pen head, you can install these in a lot of places. They got sticky tape on them and their own Wi-Fi, and ways to send signals out, so they don't need SIM cards anymore.
Well, yeah, whatever the case is, that there are sophisticated means by which to case your house.
Yeah,
a thief can case your house. So if you are suspected, now they're not going to case anyone's house. They're going to case a house where they know there might be money or valuables. So that's one of the things they do. So if you have if somebody's been talking to your cleaning lady, and your cleaning lady happens to talk about all the fabulous furniture and the expensive paintings you have on the wall in the house, she's so impressed, that might get around. So okay, so when we know that there are expensive paintings in that house, expensive furniture, they're probably expensive other things. So the case the joint, and then the thieves got to be good thieves though too. There's a lady that got hit twice in my old neighborhood. And what happened is the moving van just pulled right in and started taking stuff out, and nobody knew that they weren't moving.
Yeah.
They just pulled in, bold as brass, and unloaded everything in the house into the moving van, and off they went. And it was a fake moving van.
Yeah.
And another time, the next time they were hit, this lady had wealthy parents. So although she had a nice middle class house in a nice neighborhood, her parents filled her stuff up, And anyway, so they got hit again. This time they went right into the garage. They got into the garage and then went through the back way, filled up everything in the garage, basically, and put the stuff in the vehicle in the garage, and then took off twice. Mm-hmm. But they were really good thieves. Mm-hmm. They knew that there was stuff in there that was valuable, and they're quick, and that was back in the day when all the moms in the neighborhood stayed at home.
Yeah,
nobody noticed anything.
Yeah. But again, if nobody noticed anything because moving van didn't seem odd.
Yeah. So one time the moving van didn't seem odd, and the other time, once everyone knew that trick now, the next time they hit it, they just went straight into the garage. They got a vehicle into the garage, filled that up, or one or two maybe, and they would keep the garage door closed, fill up a vehicle, take off with it, and then come back, whatever. So they were pros. And so if you've got somebody out there canvassing your joint, you could make an amateur pretty professional by using these cameras. Yeah. But they would have to, I would suspect they would have to know there might be something in that house.
Again, the thing is, you may have collectibles that other people consider valuable, and times like Easter may well in fact be the best time to actually break into somebody's house, because there are, even many people who don't have much money, hey, you might be going away to your cousin in Toronto.
Yeah. And then imagine your kids when they get home and find out all their Easter eggs have been stolen.
Yeah, but it's not the Easter eggs; it's that kind of heirloom that's
more like a Fabergé egg, maybe.
But again, in the current times, people are going down market, not necessarily staying up market in terms of thievery.
It's just one more thing to think of. If you live in a house, if you live in a house, doesn't matter where it is, but mostly it's going to be in upscale neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And just be aware that thieves are getting a little more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And they can case your joint for weeks at a time with electronics. So if you happen to be sort of, working in your garden and you see this little black box strapped to a tree aimed at your house, you might think, "Oh, I wonder what that is."
Yeah, it's a little.
In this particular case, when the case that we're talking about here, the thieves left the cameras, so so when the investigators found them, they were able to see what the thieves were looking at.
Yeah. Well, last time I went away, there's a little device that I got called a portable door lock, which basically meant that even if the people got around the back, they couldn't get into the back door because it was double secured.
They'll get in if they're good. They'll get in. They know all that.
Oh, stuff. No. Yeah, this stuff is supposed to stop that kind of break-in, those kind of break-ins. It's a mechanical.
A good car thief can get it. Start any car anytime.
Yeah, well, people can get in, but if they're making a noise getting in, then there's a chance they don't get in.
Yeah. So there's a difference between a pro and a break and enter. The break and enter guy, the junkie, or the guy that's going in for a quick grab and run away. That's one thing. But a pro, if they want to get something out of the house, they're going to get it. Doesn't matter how much alarms you have set up. Yeah. But what you want to do is kind of keep the amateurs out. you know, but a good pro wouldn't even touch your place if he didn't think it was worth it. If there was some, anyway, and all these sophisticated alarms are jimmied one way or another. They find ways of getting around them because they're good at what they do, but they wouldn't bother your house. You have to worry about the break and enter guy or the quick thief type guy. Me too. Like, if somebody came in my back door or something and grabbed a few things and ran out.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on. All right. So moving on. St. Catharines train derailment repairs are likely to take a week.
I would think so. I think at the very least a week. Now, when I read that, I couldn't tell whether or not. What that does is it impedes train traffic, which, of course, is going to affect the economy. It's going to reduce deliveries, all that kind of thing. So I would have imagined they would have tried to get these things off the track and get the track up and running again. What it doesn't say there, it also says that the bridge can't go up and down. So that means that it's going to restrict any of the early ship traffic through the canal, which is not a good thing. I mean, it's as early a point of time right now where it's just going to be an inconvenience and they can easily catch up. But it's important that they figure out what went wrong with the rail. So they got to fix that and get the economy going by getting these the trains going back.
Okay. So somebody at work actually lives in that area. They heard the derailment. All right. So they were in sound point of that. The thing, they didn't know what was going on until the morning, but they heard the derailment. They heard the bang, as the train came off the tracks. And subsequent commotion. But that said, they didn't know about what had happened until the morning, until you could see down those tracks and see what was going on. Now, there was, that said, they were saying that there's been a lot of the speculation about the wet is something they would confirm. We had a lot of freeze thaw in that area.
Well, all throughout the area, but that affected the train tracks in ways it hasn't normally.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's soggy ground. So they got to fix that. They got to make sure that doesn't happen again. Yeah. So that's number one thing. So first of all, they got to get those trains, that cargo back on the rails and move it back, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And they got to have to check out those cars and make sure they're not damaged. And if they are, they got to have to move it to a place where they can be repaired and then moved on further.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're pretty robust. They're on a bogey box. Those the train wheels are on this thing called a bogey box. That's the train wheels and all that. So those are usually secure. Like they're pretty robust. So you could, you just have to look at the tankers or whatever, see what kind of damage, make sure that they're not going to be compromised and open up or something like that. So first thing you do is got to get rid of them, get them down the track, get them out of the way, if they're still good on their bogey boxes. And then after that, you're going to have to repair that track to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yeah, this all has to be done in 1 week. And if they don't do it quickly.
One of the first things they're also going to do is effect repairs on the bridge itself.
I don't think the bridge was damaged.
Well, they're basically saying that the lift bridge at the moment is inoperable, and there's the damage on the track has left it from not being able to be raised at the moment. That's what this is currently saying.
Well, it's probably a safety thing there where it sees that they're
possibly.
Yeah. Now, I don't believe that, because if they wanted to raise that bridge, it's easily done. I know, I worked on the goddamn thing, right? And all you have to do is engage now there might be something wrong with the track, It's a bascule bridge. It's basically a counterweighted bridge, right? And it would just drift up like this when you put the counterweights in.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is engage those counterweights. So they're saying that it can't be lifted, and it might be because of a safety reason. It won't lift if the tracks are damaged. There might be a safety thing in there that tells it do not operate if there's something wrong with those tracks, right? So, do not lift or something. I don't know. It seems to me there's no indication that any kind of damage happened to the bridge itself. It's for some reason.
I'm not saying there is, but we know there's likely significant damage to the tracks.
So that makes me suspect, I don't know where the derailment happened. It must have happened close to the bridge, but yeah, you can lift that bridge. I don't know why they're saying you can't lift that bridge and what reason it is. You can. All you have to do is engage. There are 2 motors there in that in the motor house of the bascule bridge, right? Yeah. You engage those motors and the thing tips up.
Yeah.
So why they're saying they won't be able to lift it up, it's not made clear here. Mm-hmm. Because I can tell you, having worked on it, yeah, you can get it up. As a matter of fact, you can get it up just by bringing a crane in, because the balance on that bascule bridge is such that I put brand new counterweights in there and hung it on brand new chains and all that. And it's very, very delicately balanced. A little bit of effort they got these really old motors in there too. It's kind of cool. And so a little bit of effort to engage the counterweights will push it up. A little bit of effort will bring it back down. So it wouldn't take much to lift that bascule bridge because it's counterweighted. Yeah. So I don't know why why they say
they're basically at the moment they're basically just saying that they do expect to get traffic moving again within a week. Right, and the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation has reported limited delays. But again, my understanding is that bridge isn't open for another week anyway. I mean, the canal isn't open for another week anyway, because I remember they reported that it was April 10th that they're opening the canal.
Okay, but didn't they have the initial ship go through, the ceremony ship go through already?
I don't know.
Yeah, with the guy with the top hat. They open it. Okay. They open it every year. They take one ship and they go through the canal.
Well, there was
whatever reason. Right now they're probably tying up. They have to work on the canal every year. The thing's getting old. And I was on 7 different years. I worked on that canal.
Yeah,
as millwright. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there's going to be some disruption, though. Everybody knows that right now.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that?
No, it's just if people get kind of frustrated and wonder what the holdup is, it's just a reminder that it was going to take a little while to get that done.
Yeah. So Rick is saying one side of the canal is open.
Yeah. That's in the article too. Yeah. One side's good, but the other side is not.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Morning, Karen.
Good morning, Karen. How you doing?
Yeah. So one side of the beach. Well, I suppose that does help to some extent. All right. Okay. So moving on. Britain, France, and 30 other nations are actually joined a coalition to secure transit through the Straits of Hormuz in order to provide relief for African economies.
Here's a situation where I don't know how they're going to do it, because right now the Straits of Hormuz, let's make this correct, they have not been closed down. The traffic there is being restricted to anybody that isn't an ally of the U.S. or Israel. So anyone else can go in there and make arrangements to get their oil.
I'm wondering if there's been some negotiations with Iran on this matter by France and UK in order to get tankers flowing to Africa, and that this is very strictly limited to Africa.
It does not say that in the article, which I expected it to too. How are you going to get things through the Straits of Hormuz? No matter if it's 30 countries, doesn't matter if it's 100 countries.
Yeah.
But right now, Africa, and we mentioned this, I've mentioned it a couple of times on this show. One of the great tragedies of this war is it's going to cause starvation and extreme hardship in places in the developing world, particularly in this particular case, Africa, which relies incredibly on the fertilizers and fuel that comes from the Persian Gulf. I mean, we've had problems all over the rest of the world too. Restrictions in how much power people can use. They're supposed to be working from home instead of the office anymore. Anything to reduce power needs, but they still have power and they still have food and everything else. The poorer you are, the more you're going to suffer from this military adventurism of the United States and Israel is going to cause an enormous problems for people around the world, including starvation, lack of medical, lack of fertilization, lack of power. So this idea of getting these 30 countries to open up the Straits of Hormuz sounds good, but it doesn't say how it's going to do it. Is it going to go negotiate with Iran and say, look, you might not like us. You don't have to sell the oil to us. But how about we get one of your tankers or a few of your tankers over here to Tanzania or Mozambique or someplace? They need the oil bad. I think the Iranians would probably respond to that because that would make them look pretty good.
Yeah.
We won't sell it to you, France. We won't sell it to you, UK. But we will make sure it gets to these African nations.
Yeah. Basically, Britain and France are set to chair talks this week to formalize a joint mission to secure the waterway. This is according to UK media reports.
Yeah, it seems, and the whole economic system is all thrown out of whack. Even Nigeria is having problems, and they're a major oil and gas producer.
Yeah.
And even they're having problems with the spike in prices because it's world connected, even though they're a major producer. And you would think they're a major producer, they would be able to supply a lot of these other countries, you know?
But it's the same with us, if you think about it. One of the things about being a major world producer is there is all manners of oil out there. And typically, in order to actually do a lot of stuff that we need for our industry, we can't rely solely upon Canadian oil. It has to be mixed with other types of oil because there are various different types of oil, as you have rightly said, over periods of time, because there's that the Canadian crude that we do is significantly heavier. It's heavy crude, right?
It's like Venezuelan crude,
yeah. So the heavy crude that we've got is a lot harder. It has to be mixed with Saudi Arabian crude, with Iranian crude.
No, that doesn't get mixed. It doesn't get mixed. No, it goes into a refinery that's made for that kind of oil. That's why they use Canadian oil in the United States, because they've already built refineries for heavy crude, and that they're all geared up to be able to use heavy crude. That's why we sell so much of it to them. Their blends of crude don't happen, as far as I know. You don't take Libyan sweet, which is a very light and easy to refine oil, and mix it with Canadian oil. What you do is you make a refinery that's specific to a certain type of oil, and you refine that.
Well, actually,
that's why in the States they have refineries that are good for heavy crude oil, but it's better for them to take their light crude oil, which is high-end oil, and sell it to another country because they get top dollar for it, because other countries have refineries geared for sweet oil, light sweet oil.
Yeah, but one of the things, like, for example, I know the UK has been doing, the UK has blended it because of the fact that their crude, they've mixed it with Saudi crude because of the fact that they need, the blending works for the UK.
Well, they might have I don't know what anyway, aside from all that, what we find here is these 30 countries are going to try to open up the Straits of Hormuz, not open them up, but open them more, and try to appeal probably to the Iranian government to open this. And remember too that the 22 countries prior to this who pledged work on trying to keep the Straits of Hormuz open but only after a ceasefire. So basically what they're thinking of is getting a ceasefire. There's not going to be any resolution to the war, let me put it that way, unless the United States invades with hundreds of thousands of people. That war will not come to a conclusion. There won't be a ceasefire. And there's going to have to be a ceasefire because the world economy is going to be in a mess. And if they don't come up with a ceasefire, then there's going to be real problems all over the place. There's going to be starvation, all kinds of hardships around the world. And the rest of the world was going to stand up to the United States finally on this one. So I expect there's going to be a ceasefire within the next few weeks. And these 30 countries are going to try to get, in the meantime, before that's done, they try to get the oil to places that really need it. And remember, Iran does not have arguments with Tanzania, Kenya, Mozambique, or any other place in Africa. It doesn't have arguments with Thailand. It doesn't have arguments with South Korea. Well, maybe with South Korea because it's an ally with the U.S., but Japan too. Japan is trying to make deals separately with them. So the oil security is a big thing. And we find when we talk about, when we were talking the other day about the NDP bringing up climate change again, it's almost impossible to see climate change when there is this huge push to secure oil and energy for the next 100 years, because everyone knows that oil energy is going to be that which we need for the next 100 years. There is no replacement right now. Nowhere near the replacement we're going to need.
All right. So Rick is saying, Dave, your friend Trump said it's up to the ones that need it to go through. He's heading home for 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, he said, "Oh, you need oil? Then go get it." So that Trump said he would open up the Straits of Hormuz early in the war using the massive U.S. Navy, the greatest, most powerful Navy in the world. But we find that the U.S. Navy is very afraid to go into the Straits of Hormuz. They haven't gone there. And why is that? They have the biggest aircraft carriers. They have the hugest and best battleships and missiles and all that. But they're afraid to go into that shooting gallery. It would be a huge embarrassment. It'd be a huge embarrassment to Trump to have his ships knocked out of the water there. So the greatest Navy of all time ever created will not go into the Straits of Hormuz because it's a shooting gallery. So that's why he says, well, why don't you guys do it? Why don't you open it up? We need some help. Well, you need some help. You never asked us anything about the war beforehand. And now you say you want help to continue it?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. There's another thing here. Is what's that ship? The one that the US is having trouble with, the big.
The Ford. Yeah, the Ford, the USS Ford,
the Gerald Ford. Okay. There's a story out there that I've not been able to confirm at all. I saw a story on Facebook, or actually on social media, not just Facebook, but other places, that Iran has actually set fire to the Gerald Ford.
No, that was a fight.
I couldn't find any confirmation at all, so I didn't believe it.
Well, the first thing we know that the first victim of war is the truth, right? So if Iran actually hit the Gerald Ford, started a fire, if there was any ways of lying about it, they would. So what happened in the Gerald? We know what's the problem with the Ford, don't we? For one thing, its sewage system is terrible, and the sailors are very angry because they can't go to the bathroom. Like it's their sewage systems is constantly backing up, and they put in the greatest the biggest aircraft carrier ever built, and it has bad sewage. So that it's very difficult for the sailors to do what they have to do. You know what I mean? And not only that, but they had a laundry fire. It appears to be a laundry fire. So you can imagine buildup of lint and stuff. So this massive, huge military Goliath has digestive problems. Let's put it that way, and also it can't do its own laundry. You know, it can't do its own laundry. It has fires, so it had to go over to Riyadh. I think in Riyadh and get repaired. They say they're going to put it back in the water.
You can't go to Riyadh. Riyadh's not on the coast.
Not Riyadh. I mean, Jeddah. Jeddah. Was it Jeddah is on the coast?
That makes a bit more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeddah, where in the Red Sea coast. Yeah. But that might be a problem too, because then they got to go past the Houthis later.
Yeah. And as Ricky said, it was the laundry room on fire. I knew that, but there were so many stories out there, and as you said, the first victim of war is the truth. And there were so many stories out there about the Gerald Ford being destroyed.
Well, yeah, and also the Lincoln was supposed to. I'm sure they tried to attack them a few times, but they are so well protected by all the ships around them. But you won't find them going in through the Straits of Hormuz. The mightiest, greatest navy of all time is afraid of that little mouse called Iran that has a lot of very effective $20,000 drones and short-range missiles. I don't know. But what we have now, unfortunately, it looks like escalation. But if you look at the stock market, there might be hints there, because the stock market started to climb back up again and oil started to come down for a while. What do they know that we don't know? I think they're guessing that Trump's got to get out of this as quickly as he can. And he's going to call for a ceasefire. And I think that's one of the reasons why he says, go get your own oil, because I think he's going to close up operations there. They're going to do a couple of commando type things to make it look good, I guess, but they're going to find some reason to ceasefire and get out of there, because they're running out of ordnance.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Anything else in relation to that?
No, I just hope that the stock market knows something that I don't know, because to me, what I see is some foolish escalation about to happen because of desperation. Just about every pundit out there that talks about historical precedents shows that when a leader gets desperate, they usually escalate. Whether it's Napoleon, whether it's whoever it is, right? When they get into a situation where their plans didn't work, they end up escalating, like in Iraq, you know, and in Afghanistan. Instead of just doing the job and getting out, they end up escalating if they don't get what they want, everything they want. And I think Trump is the chump that would escalate. But I hope he's not. I hope he takes that nose ring out of his nose that Netanyahu put there, and actually starts to control it and say, okay, we got to get out.
Right. Rick is saying Trump is leaving in 3 weeks. His job was to take out the nukes. He did. Done. He's heading home now.
He took out the nukes. He took out the nukes back in July. So why is he back here now?
There were no nukes.
That's baloney. That's baloney. That's rubbish.
Yeah, he took out the nukes.
He obliterated the nukes, and the CIA came up with a report says they couldn't get their stuff back into gear for 10 years. That's a CIA report. So to go after the nukes now after he's obliterated the nukes?
Yeah. That seems unlikely to me. All right. Okay, so moving on. A federal judge has ruled Trump's ending of funding to NRP and PBS was unconstitutional. NPR, I meant.
Yeah, that's the judge here. Like Trump, and particularly the Republicans, are always after public media because they can't control it. They can control the other medias by money, and each one of the other medias is a paid, like the CNN is paid off by the Democrats, Fox is paid off by the Republicans, that kind of thing. So those medias are, they have biases. But public media, it has had biases in the past, but they always try to readjust it. But aside from that, the judge says you cannot restrict free speech. And when the Trump administration says they're going to reduce the amount of money given, make it impossible for public broadcast to get money or funding from the government, that's against free speech. That's against the laws of free speech in the United States. It's not going to reverse the fact that the Republicans have removed public funding for PBS completely. It just means that it's illegal to make it a law, and there was a directive from Trump to make it so that they could never get funding, or they shouldn't ever get funding again, and that's impossible to do according to the judge. And
again,
PBS and NPR sued the Trump administration and won.
Yeah, and PBS largely gets its funding from listeners and viewers, because you often go into a PBS, and there's, if you watch PBS, there's often a 10-minute introduction before the show that you're about to watch, pleading for money.
Yeah, so they get a lot of money from donors, but they did get money from the government.
Yeah,
like the local station here would be losing in Buffalo would be losing about $2 million of funding for a public network. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
and that would restrict how much service they could do for the community. So there's different now. If you want to look, public radio and public and PBS were slanted towards the left. Yeah, there was a real problem there for a few times during the first Trump administration. I really didn't like PBS too much at all. They were more of a social justice network, even though I still listened to it more religiously. I didn't like a lot of the reporting because they were went to the social justice thing, and it was, and they really did have Trump.
Yeah, but I've not watched PBS for news. I've watched PBS for. They've run a number of documentaries. They've run things like, foreign shows, foreign TV shows.
Well, the problem that the Republicans have with public radio is the biases they feel that they had against the right wing, the right end of government. Now, PBS has tried to correct that quite a few times. They had that problem back in the 90s where they actually identified themselves as being too leaning towards the left, and they had to correct it. But then they had the problem again a little later on, because what happens is most journalists are left leaning when they come out of university, and they have a bias. And Karen says, today is taping day for seniors news and views on Kojiko. Yeah. Okay, Karen. So so if anyone's got Kojiko,
do that one, Karen.
Yeah. Maybe we should have Karen on the show. Tell us all about it.
Maybe you and I should go and become guests on her show.
Well, I'm not that old yet.
Like it or not, Dave, you and I are both seniors, and we might deny it, but I fervently deny it. I'm only 4,186 years old.
Well,
I've got another 5,000 years to live. So what do I? I'm not a senior.
Well, I'm still immature. Maybe not physically, but mentally. So anyway, so I'll tell Karen this too, if she's just tuned in. I think she's an NDP supporter. Stephen Lewis died yesterday. So I don't know if she's heard that, but Stephen Lewis died. I think she'd be probably pretty interested in that. If anyone is, like I said before, ever gone to see him speak, he was an amazing speaker. Dressed well too, man. Dapper dressed. Yeah, he dressed smart.
Actually, I can't profess to have known who. Obviously, I looked him up this morning when you were talking about him, but I can't profess to have known anything about him because he was way before my day.
Yeah,
One
of the best speakers I've ever heard.
I appreciate what you're saying, and again, it's good to hear a lot of support for a former NDP politician, and that's right. Good.
It's a very sad day.
Yeah. So obviously, Mr. Arvin Lewis's family went through both good emotion yesterday and bad emotion yesterday, with the fact that yesterday Arvin Lewis was actually declared the new leader of the NDP, and his father was lost at the same time.
Oh, so,
yeah.
Bitter irony there. Bittersweet.
Yeah. So I think we can leave it at that point, Dave.
Okay. All right. As I always do, I bring up Gaza at the end of the show all the time because I never want anyone to ever forget about it. That was a nightmare. I call it a genocide. But whatever it was, whatever you see it, it was a brutal, brutal reprisal for something that happened. This conflict has happened ever since 1897, when the Zionists first start to arrive in what was then Palestine, and is now Israel and Palestine. But you got to, like, everybody thinks, oh, well, they deserved it because they attacked on October. This has been going on. These attacks have been going back and forth. Atrocities on each side of that has been going on forever and a day, ever since 1900 going forward. So you cannot use it as an isolated incident. But the reprisals they took for that terrorist attack on October, whatever it was, 70 for everyone that was killed in the terrorist attack. That was collective punishment. And the whole place is now, you still have 2 million people there. Most of them are quite young, and they don't have schools. They don't have continuous water. The Israelis cut off water and food whenever they feel like it, power as well. They've destroyed just about every building. They have no intention of letting those people live a comfortable life. They want to force them off that land, the same as in the West Bank. So keep that in mind. We're supposed to be a democracy. They're supposed to be a democracy, a Western democracy. Look what they're behaving like, an apartheid state. So we will welcome them back into the family of democratic nations if they act like one. And in the meantime, pray for peace.
All right. And Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu.